everybody, welcome to Prop Live. This is a show that we do every Thursday here on the Punish Props YouTube channel, where we take your prop and costume making questions and answer them. My name is Bill Duran. I run this crazy dog and cat show, and this week we have a guest from all the way over in the future now. Thom from Sorenzo Props over in, you're in Glasgow, right?
Glasgow in Scotland, yeah.
There you go. How you doing, man?
I'm good. I'm tired, Bill, but I'll survive.
It's very late there.
Way past my bedtime.
Yes, sir. For those of you who are, for the uninitiated, Thom runs this little thing called Sorenzo Props, making props and lots of Daft Punk helmets and all kinds of cool stuff. You can go to Facebook, look up Sorenzo Props, check out what he's got going on over there. Like a giveaway, because you just hit 5,000 likes on your page, which is amazing. You want to tell us about that?
Yeah, so I don't know. I just love giving stuff away because fans seem to really enjoy it, and the Daft Punk is kind of what got me started in this whole crazy career. So for London Super Comic Con way back in March of this year, myself and a good buddy Alistair Watson, who is a photographer, we created these costumes and danced around like idiots the whole weekend and got to hang out with you. And this image has been popping around the internet for the last couple of months, so I thought, why not give one of them away to one lucky person?
That sounds like a wonderful idea. How do people join in if they would like a chance to win it?
They need to go to my page. They need to find this picture, which is pinned to the top of my page, and they need to go ahead and like it and comment and share on it.
All right, sounds easy enough to me.
Be drawing a winner tomorrow, hopefully if I have time, but definitely over the weekend, a winner will be drawn.
Cool, super duper cool. What else do we have to? Oh, what have you been working on now? You got a little thing called CosCon you've been doing. You want to tell us about that?
Yeah. So myself and the same guy, Alistair Watson, we started a little company which is basically organizing, aiming to organize one of the UK's first cosplay-only conventions. So we're going to take away all the usual, excuse me. Oh, I think there's something called in my throat. There we go.
Oh no. The first guest to die on air.
So yeah, we're gonna have a cosplay convention where we're going to take away all the queues, all the crappy merchandise, all the sort of people who died in Star Wars that you're not really interested in, and we're going to have cosplay-specific events, guests, and attractions.
That sounds really cool. And also, there's a page for that, Cost-Con over on Facebook. That is the right one, I believe.
That is it, yep.
Cool. Where people can find out more about that. You said you've been doing like some smaller events?
Yeah, so we've been trying to build up a reputation and get people excited about it. So we've basically just been having parties. We've done a rock night. We've done a sort of after parties for different conventions. We did an after party for Aberdeen Comic Con, which is Granite City Comic Con, and we did an after party for the Edinburgh Comic Con. And I've just got back from Edinburgh and Aberdeen, where we're organizing events for the coming months up there. So we're going to have our first mini-con in Aberdeen in the coming months. That
sounds pretty awesome. I think throwing parties is a pretty good way to get people hyped about your event.
It's been really successful. Who would have thought that people like dressing up and getting drunk?
It's a solid plan.
Surprisingly easy, if not exhausting, though.
Yeah. Cool. Well, that sounds pretty fantastic. I've been making a mold. You want to hear about that?
Very, very big mold.
Yeah, I've actually, I'm making my first matrix mold, and I am very much standing on the shoulders of giants here. I'm getting a lot of really great advice from Harrison Cricks over at Volpin Props, but I also watched not all of, but most of the series you did all about molding your Daft Punk helmet.
Yeah,
and that's been very helpful.
That was a long one, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, my favorite part was the half hour when you were trying to demold the piece from the silicone.
I actually watched that back, and that was one of the quickest the releases I've done. Usually it takes a little bit longer, but yeah, I could have made it a 4-part, but I was like, no, I'll make it a 3-part. I'll get it out, and it took forever.
Awesome. I recommend we'll have a link in the show notes to the whole thing. It is exhaustive because it's all live footage right from your shop as you're doing it, but that means you don't skip anything. It's everything start to finish to preparing a matrix mold to build a helmet. So we'll link to that so folks can go check that out later on. Excuse me. I'm doing something similar. I'm making my own first matrix mold. I'm doing a gun from District 9 for the guys over at tested.com for San Diego Comic-Con. So that's coming up. I did a video and a write-up for them over on their website, and we'll link to that below. I also did a live stream the other day where I built a couple little pieces for it. And part of the reason for that is our Patreon hit a new milestone, which is awesome. So thank you, everyone who supports our Patreon. Woo! But that means I'm going to do more of those live from the shop build things where I just have the live stream going. I take questions from people, and I build stuff. So we're going to look forward to more of that. But
excellent.
I just did one earlier this week, so folks can feel free to go check that one out as well. Let's see what else. That's it. That's all I've got. Anything else you want to chat about before we get started there, Thom?
Not really. I'm just starting a couple of projects, or in the middle of some projects. So I'm making the Magneto helmet from Days of Future Past.
Oh, that's right.
That's a little personal build that I've been like doing for the last year. So I managed to get that CNC'd a couple of weeks ago, and I'm starting to do the prep work on that, which is going to be absolutely amazing because it's so rough and rugged, and I won't have to spend like forever wet sanding it to get it near polish. So I'm just gonna get to like stab it with chisels and stuff and get it all messed up. So I'm looking forward to that.
Cool, yeah. Versus those Daft Punk helmets you have that need to be perfectly shiny.
Sanding them for my entire life, it feels exhausting. But yeah,
I will say,
I'm also
one of the tips from your video series that I took to heart was I got my piece, the gun, mostly finished, but I didn't do all the final prep work until after I do all of my jacket mold making. Because I have the jacket it's covered in clay right now. It's just completely covered in clay. And during the jacket mold making process for the matrix mold, I'm guaranteed to screw up something on the master, and I'll have to fix it anyway. So I'll just wait till later to do that.
I learned that the hard way.
Yeah. I do like having friends who try difficult things before me, so that when they screw up, I can learn from their mistakes. For those that don't know, Thom did a helmet, and when he covered it in clay, the master underneath got that he had shined to a polish finish. Got a little bit messed up.
Cling wrap first to try and protect it, which made it even worse because then it trapped all the air and the paint started giving off gases and it just turned putty and it had all these horrible. So I had to strip the whole lot back and start again. So I lost like 2 days work, which sucked.
Yeah, I ended up going with your solution and just covering it in wet paper towels.
Works so well. Really, really, yeah.
Yep. Cool. All right, let's go grab some. Oh, by the way, folks who are watching live, we have the Q&A app rolling on the event page on YouTube or Google+. So if you have questions for me, either me or Thom or both of us, you can throw them at us using that app, and we will start answering them. But to get us started, we have a handful of questions that came in earlier on my Facebook page. So we'll start answering those. And this first one comes from my wife, Brittany Shepard. Well, Brittany Shepard Duran, I should say. That's how it's listed. Because Britt copied it from Facebook. Awesome. I'm curious about Sorenzo Props Workshop. From the live streams, it looks like it's a shared space. What are the pros and cons of using that shared space?
So that's directed at me then, yeah. I share a workspace with 3 or 4 other companies that have been on the go for the last 10 years called Design Hub. If people want to check it out, that's designhub.co.uk, I think they'll find it. So I share with a product design engineering company, and they've spent the last 10, 15 years buying lots of cool tools and toys and 3D printers and CNC machines, which is awesome because you know yourself, Bill, tools are expensive. It takes a long time to build up, and usually you have to pay bills before you can buy really fancy, expensive machinery. So I get to use all this. I get to train to learn how to use them and to figure out ways that I can bring them into my prop work. So it's been brilliant. I don't think Sorenzo Props would have been a success if I hadn't found that workshop and moved in. So it's been mostly pros. The cons, not really many, apart from maybe getting distracted and blowing stuff up with your buddies and that. You know, if you've got people to procrastinate with, it generally takes a lot longer. But no, it's mostly all good. But I was really lucky. I'm really lucky to find that space.
That's cool. Yeah, no, that sounds like a really great setup. I think a question I get a lot is from people who don't have a workspace or they live in an apartment, they don't have a garage to work in. And it's definitely a good idea to look around and see if there are other small companies who are looking to make a little extra money by renting out a corner of their shop. So yeah, definitely look around. Cool. Well, thank you, Brittany. my wonderful wife, Brittany, who has been a trooper. She's been claying and fiberglassing right alongside me the last couple days. In fact, as soon as we're done here, we got to go lay down some fiberglass cloths. It's going to be exciting.
Oh, amazing.
All right, this next one is from my buddy Annie. All right, Annie says she's working on a Guardian of Time, Sia from Hyrule Warriors, and having problems figuring out how to make something that releases and retracts a large gem on a cord at the end of a staff. Any ideas besides a retractable dog leash? I think a retractable dog leash sounds like a great idea. I'm wondering if like the retractable dog leash wouldn't fit in the staff because it's got a big reel on it. Let me see here. Guardian of Time, Sia. Of Time. There we go. Let's see if we can get a picture of this staff.
Yeah, let you look it up, Bill.
Yeah, I've got the thing here. Okay, so here's the staff. And that's the world's smallest picture. Hey, Google image search. How about never show a picture smaller than 300 pixels? There we go. All right, so here's the staff. And I guess this crystal sort of comes out on a chain or something?
Yeah.
Or a cord. So I'm thinking that it's tricky.
I don't see how something that big will be able to pop out and then pop back in without sustaining some sort of damage.
Or damaging someone else.
Or damaging somebody else, yeah. I don't know if that would be con-safe if it was made out of resin or something.
Yeah, that would be tricky. I think in this situation, I would, before I even started building the staff, I would build a sort of a prototype, just get like a PVC tube, get something to stand in for that gem. And you're going to have to do a lot of prototyping to figure out something that's going to work. I would not figure out that part of it last. I would do it first before you start sculpting the rest of the staff. Because you're going to have to like play with different types of elastic or different types of string or maybe magnets. I'm not really sure, but you're going to have to go through a lot of trial and error to get something to work. That's what I think. But good luck.
Good luck with it. Yeah. Let us know how you get on.
Yeah. Yeah. So much of prop making is problem solving and prototype building. And that's what you'll want to do. All right. Good luck, Annie. This next question comes from Lee. This one is, do you have any tips for keeping things even on multiple identical EVA foam pieces, like a bracer for each arm, when you're beveling the edges using a Dremel or a belt sander? I feel like I never get the two pieces to look alike. Worried that it will look bad. This is one of those times you have to think, just get it close enough, no one will notice it from 10 feet. I think practice is going to get you most of the way there. Just lots and lots of practice.
Or some really crafty weathering.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, it's damage. It's supposed to look
crap.
Yeah. Whenever I can, it's another case too where a really nice power tool can help out. So if I have to cut like a nice sharp bevel on a piece of foam, I use my bandsaw because it has a tilting bed.
Yeah.
And I can just run it right through there, and it's a perfect edge. Other than that, though, it's just going to be like using a belt sander and practice. Lots of practice.
Yeah. That's the good thing about EVA foam, though. You can do practice runs. You can get a scrap piece and have a go and get the sort of technique down before you go ahead and do it on your finished piece. Yeah.
Every project I have that I've done out of EVA, I have a pile of scraps with just lines cut into it because I'm practicing, always practicing. But also, maybe it's a good excuse for you to go buy a bandsaw or an oscillating spindle sander. Or move into a shop with people that already have all those wonderful toys.
Yeah, exactly. Why pay for them when you can just use someone else's?
That's right. Cool. Good luck, Lee. Good luck. Or here's a good idea: pick a costume that's asymmetrical. So if the two sides don't look alike, that's fine. All right. This next question comes from Matthew. He wants to know, what are some good ways to cool down a shop without spreading too much dust around? So,
Scotland.
what was that?
Have a shop in Scotland. They're always cool. Yeah.
I will say, I'm in Seattle, and my shop is in the basement, and it is not even 70 degrees. It's 88 degrees outside, and it's like 68 degrees in the basement, and that is pretty awesome. But other than that, I guess have an AC unit that doesn't run in the room where you're going to have dust. And I've done this before too. Like I dusted my entire office, got it perfectly clean, and then I brought in my shop vac, turned it on, it shot a bunch of dust out the back of it and covered everything with dust again.
Yep.
So get an AC unit and run it in another room and run a hose from that to your room where you have all your dust. I think that would do it. You never have to worry about getting too warm or too cold in your shop, Tom?
It's always too cold, never too warm. We're quite lucky. We've got them sort of two big garage doors that we can open up in the summertime and let some light in. But generally, it's pretty cold in there, which is quite good, especially if you're working hard. You know, it's good to be kept. But it's not so good for molding and casting.
Right. You got to keep those
well above room temperature. But I just recently extended my spray booth, so we've like triple the size of it. So all my resins and silicones are going in there, and that's where I'm going to do all my molding. So I won't have to worry about any problems with temperature from now on, hopefully.
Cool. Do you have like a heater or something in there that keeps it at a constant temperature?
Heater in there, so it's all nice and low, and it just keeps it about 25 degrees, which is perfect, 20 to 25 degrees.
Cool.
So, and it's also great for paint as well. It makes your paints will last a lot longer in the can, and they'll dry a lot quicker as well.
Yeah. For this gun that I'm doing right now, it is, like I said, it's 88 degrees Fahrenheit here. So for at least for like the base coats of color I'm going to throw down on that, I'm going to hang it up outside.
Yeah.
Because if it's 85 degrees out, the spray paint will dry like in minutes. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, there you go, Matt. Keep cool, buddy. Keep cool. Here's one. Actually, this one came in from in the chat. Gibbs Mail wants to know if I've ever paid for advertising. He's trying to use AdWords and Etsy promotions and seeing how that might work. I'm wondering if you've ever done that, Tom. You ever tried to do any paid advertising for any of your sites?
I have experimented quite a bit with it. Mostly Facebook. I've done a little bit with Etsy, but I didn't see any returns from it. But that was quite early on when I first started it. So I've not done anything recently. But Facebook I've had a lot of success with. People quite often complain about reach with Facebook, that they're putting out stuff and people aren't seeing it. But Facebook is a faceless corporation trying to grab your money, so they want you to spend the money, and it does work. So for big things, for giveaways, for sales, stuff like that, I will spend maybe just like 10, 20 bucks on advertisement, and it does make a hell of a lot of difference. You know, if you get 1 or 2 sales off the back of it, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and a lot of times you can, like you're saying, you can justify the cost of advertising if it nets you a handful of sales.
Yeah, definitely. But if you're just putting up a picture of your dinner and advertising it, there's no point in that. You know, you need to have something worthwhile.
Yeah, what I found with Facebook advertising is if you have a post that you put up, so you kind of want to just keep an idea of what sort of reach your posts usually get. So I know that if I throw a post up on my page, I could probably count on, I don't know, 2,000 to 5,000 reach on just a normal post. If it goes really well, it'll get out to like 10,000 or more people, which is fantastic. If I post something and I see in the first couple hours that it's trending towards being above average, that means it's the type of post that people want to view and they want to share. So if after a couple hours you see it doing well, that's when you want to pay to promote it. Because then it gets blasted out to more people and they want to see it and they want to share it. And then it goes into more of a viral sort of thing. I found if you put a post up there and no one wants to see it, then it doesn't matter if you pay to promote it. No one's going to see it because they'll just put that in front of eyeballs that don't want to see it anyway. So there's no point in paying to promote it.
Yeah.
Of course, it's always the stupid photo of my cat that everyone shares and likes, and it's never when I post about my new ebook or something like that. All right, cool. Let's grab another question. This one here is from Fearless Facade, another one of our regulars. He says, hey, being as all the cool kids making matrix molds today, I was wondering if you could explain how they're different from other mold types and what the benefits are for us less cool kids. Thom, you want to give us the quick lowdown of what a matrix mold is?
Oh, matrix mold is like just basically triple the work because that's what we love doing, making extra work for ourselves for no reason. No, the theory behind a matrix mold is that you can get a lot more of an even coat of silicone around the part. When you're doing a brush up mold, you don't really know how evenly the silicone has been applied. You can use pigments to sort of gauge, but generally you get sort of weaknesses. And if you're doing production piece, you're taking multiple pulls, eventually a brush up mold will tear somewhere and that'll be at the weakest point. But with a matrix mold, you're getting a very even layer of silicone the whole way around, and you've got support structure there as well to make it a lot more durable, and a lot better outer casing as well using fiberglass or epoxies. So yes, it's a lot of hard work, but it does mean that you can maybe double or triple the amount of pulls you can take out of your mold, which is what we want to do.
Yeah, and the other great thing too is if you usually make a dump mold, which most of my two-part molds are dump molds where you just make a box and pour it in, then you're using way more silicone than you need to make.
Yeah.
It's a lot faster. It is way faster to do it that way. But you use a lot less silicone if you use a matrix mold. The other cool thing too is because with a matrix mold, you make a hard outer shell. If the silicone does fail, you can scrap the silicone, re-clay up your piece, and pour a new silicone mold using the same jacket mold.
Yep.
Without having to rebuild the jacket mold, which is really cool. Because really, building the jacket is what takes most of the time.
Yeah. I think Harrison has remolded his Thomas helmet a couple of times now.
Yeah. Yep.
If the mold expires or he's worn it out, he just pours the silicone again, and he's good to go within a day, which is awesome.
Oh yeah, that is a pretty nice little trick. I've thought about how does this sound? What if you 3D printed a jacket mold?
Yeah, it would work. It would be expensive or take a hell of a long time, but it would work.
Yeah, totally. Look, I'm looking into the future.
When we can 3D print in the blink of an eye and it costs pennies. Yeah.
Yes, that's right. But think about it though. If you have a long-term project and you know the dimensions of the piece, you could 3D model a jacket mold for it. That wouldn't be that difficult. And then print it out.
Surface finish of it or anything. You just need something to hold the silicone in place. Yeah.
That'd be pretty cool. Cool. There you go. Matrix molding in a nutshell. All right, here you go. This next question is from Ben. He says, I'm partway through building a Thomas Bangalter helmet, and I'm trying to find somewhere to get it chromed or electroplated in the UK while staying on a relatively tight budget. Any ideas, Thom?
I do. The company that I use have asked me not to give out their details because basically we've gone through a whole roller coaster of trial and error trying to get the process right. And I kind of, just about mastered the finish that I need for them to do it. If somebody else sends them a helmet, they have no guarantee of the helmet being finished correctly, so they have no guarantee of the surface. And I've made mistakes with chroming in the past.
Yes.
And I would wait for something to happen. But there are a number of companies that do it. I can't remember offhand. I've dealt with some of them and not dealt with others. But a Google search and a telephone call is your best bet. They'll all do it for around the £200 to £300 mark. But again, the surface needs to be finished in a particular way, and that differs with different processes that they use. So it's all about research. There are a couple of people that do for like hobbyists, and I think it's becoming more popular. There's a few more systems that are coming over from the States that are now available here. But I've stuck with one company in particular because the results are really good, but they've said they don't want to do individuals. They'll deal with me because I'm a business and I'm doing multiples. So yeah, hit Google basically.
Cool. So you basically you've worked with them so that you know how to prepare a piece to work with their process.
Yeah.
And I think with a lot of this stuff where more than one company is working together on something, there's a lot of that back and forth to get the finished product exactly what you like. So for Ben here who's looking for a solution like that, you're not just, it's not a send a thing to someone, get a finished piece back. There's a lot more back and forth, and you develop a relationship with those companies. So good luck, Ben. Start shopping around and start making some friends and seeing what you can do.
You should check out the rpf.com definitely. I've not been on there for quite a while about Daft Punk stuff, but I'm sure there is at least 50 to 100 threads about people making Daft Punk helmets. So I'm sure there'll be something about UK chrome suppliers there. But again, I've not looked on there for Daft Punk stuff in well over a year now.
Cool.
So check that out.
Yeah, there's a lot out there. Good luck, Ben. Okay, this next one comes from Downtime Props. He says, hey, Bill, I see all the pictures you take and was wondering what type of lighting do you use when you're taking such awesome pictures of your props while indoors in your shop? When you do photo stuff, do you just have your buddy Al take care of it for you?
I do a mixture. When I'm doing portfolio pieces, when I want something to look really nice, or it's the Daft Punk helmet, which is crazy hard to light, I get him. Chrome? Yeah. He nearly had a nervous breakdown when he was shooting those guys, and then I put lights in them that made it even more difficult for him. But when I'm just doing my own sort of stuff, I just got some desk lamps, some angle poised desk lamps, and I just put a piece of paper over them to diffuse the light a little bit, and then just sort of twist them around. I've got a basic understanding of photography, so I can make it work. I'm getting a little bit better. But yeah, if I want something to look really good, I hire the professionals.
Yeah, that's what I'll do too. Most of the stuff I do myself around the shop just because I'm good enough at it. But I have behind me, there's a big light. That's a 500 watt light. It's meant for video, and that's what I use when I shoot videos of my face. But that guy right there has a big softbox on it. Like you said, you use paper to diffuse it. It's similar, just more expensive. But I also use, like, I have a can light right here, like a shop cheap ass can light. There's one hanging from the ceiling right there. I have a dozen of those, and I'll lean towards those more times than not just because they're available. I also have a whole bunch of these guys here. I'm going to blind the camera with these LED panel lights. I just got these things, and they are amazing. I have 3 of them. Look at that. I can turn up the intensity. Oh, my God. But I have, like, right now I have one right there to light my face for this thing. They're awesome. They have a hot shoe thing so they can go in my camera, which right here. When I'm shooting video and the progress stuff in the shop, I have one of them here. It's just on my DSLR, and I'll light it like this. Ta-da!
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I've got, this one has a little tripod that it's sitting on, and I have one that's got a clamp, so I can clamp it on this stuff. This was about, I want to say $35 each.
That's not bad.
Not bad at all. They come way down in price. And I just run them off of some AA batteries.
Excellent.
So, there you go. There's some of my lighting solution. I have a lot of lights. I have this guy here. I don't know if you can see. This is a ring light, like a desk lamp thing.
Yeah.
And I use that for just when I'm working in the shop to light whatever I'm working on. That thing's pretty handy. I have a lot of lights. I like lights. Cool. Thank you for your question, Downtime Props. This next one here comes from Courtney. Courtney says, my fiance and I are making a couple of cosplays for Pac-Man and Miss Pac-Man. Do you have any recommendations on what to make the sphere of the body or how to wear it without our heads poking out? So they want a big sphere. I have, let me see if I can find this real quick. My buddy, go ahead.
video. Yep.
Yeah, I was just about to go to Evil Ted's video. Evil Ted Smith. If you look up Evil Ted Smith on YouTube, he recently did a it's like a mascot costume with my friend Holly, Holly Conrad, and that is a really great way to do it. Let's see here. How to pattern large costumes. They made this big bean-shaped thing out of foam. Oh, and we have a 15-second ad, so I gotta wait for that. Anyway, he'll show you how to pattern it and make it out of like a squishy foam, which is pretty cool. But you could do the same thing. I think they did a sphere-shaped one earlier too, or Holly may have done one. There it is. There's Holly and Ted. And they started by making a small scale shape to make a pattern out of. Then they use a projector to project that small pattern on the wall to make a big pattern. And then they cut all the pieces out of this squishy foam and glued it together to make a really big looking bean-shaped thing. There you go. All out of foam. Then here's what it looks like with Holly inside of it. Ta-da! So we'll have a link to that, but if you go look at Evil Ted's YouTube channel, then you'll find it over there. Have you ever done any sort of mascot type costumes, Thom? I know I haven't really dove into that world yet.
Did actually. Last Christmas I made a giant snowman costume, and I went busking in it for a couple of weeks over the holiday period and made some money. It was great.
Cool.
I thought it was going to be quite quiet, and I thought I might as well make something and go wave at children and get them to throw their parents' money at me, and it worked out quite well.
That's amazing.
I bought some Christmas gifts and had a few beers. It was nice.
Fantastic. That's funny too, because like so many, like I don't wear costumes outside of cosplaying at like conventions and stuff. I don't really wear costumes out and about for any other reason. I don't even really dress up for Halloween anymore.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Well, I did dress up for Halloween, yeah, but haven't done for the last couple of years.
Yeah, I think I got to find more reasons to dress up like a Yahoo and wander around in public.
No, I had this idea in my head, spent many cold winter working, and I thought, wouldn't it be great if you had a big insulated costume that you could wear and people would give you money for it? And I was like, I know, a snowman, that would be great. So I did it this last year and it was awesome. And I'm doing it again this year. I don't care.
That's cool. All right. Thank you, Courtney, and good luck with your Pac-Man and Miss Pac-Man costumes. Let's see. This next one comes from James, and he wants just some basic information on how to make templates. Now, I don't know if he means for like props or for costume making. But how about this, Thom? For your helmet sculpts, for your Daft Punk ones, what did you do to sort of template those to figure out what shape they should be?
For the Daft Punk helmets?
Yeah.
For the Daft Punk helmets, I started with Harrison's plans, and then I modified those to, I thought they'd be more accurate. So once I actually had them made, I spent maybe 6 months sort of tweaking and refining them. But yeah, drawing your own plans or buying someone else's plans is always a good way to start.
Yeah. If you see someone like, so I sell blueprints on my website, Harrison does, a handful of other people do. If you see something that's similar to what you're going to make and you could just modify it, that's a really good place to start.
Yeah, definitely.
Otherwise, just start putting ink on paper. Start seeing what works and what doesn't work.
Sketch it out.
Yeah. Another one here. Oh, thank you, James. Good luck. Start drawing, man. Get in there. This one's from one of our regulars. It's Kiwi. For Sorenzo, hello from over the Irish Sea. Happy Friday. Do you have a favorite silicone supplier in the UK or EU?
In the UK, yeah, I use a company called Bentley, which I think you have over there as well. Let me get the website. So their website is benam.co.uk, and I buy the vast majority of my products from them. I have started using a new company which are called Alchemie, I believe. No, I can't find that. Weird spelling of it, but they also do their own range. Oh, there it is. So yeah, Alchemie, ALCHEMIE.com. and they do silicones and resins as well, but mostly go to Bentley.
Yeah,
Bentley
see, the Bentley
Advanced.
site has a bunch of smooth-on stuff there.
Yep, I mostly buy Smooth, and they've got a couple of others. They've got Blue Star Silicon as well, and then all the usual proppy model making type materials, epoxies and polyesters and plasters. But they're really good, really good.
Cool.
And
It's kind of like over here. You can just go straight to Smooth-On's website, or you can go to Reynolds. Reynolds Advanced Materials. So, for example, I order stuff from Reynolds because they have a store in California on this coast, and it gets here faster, which is awesome.
Right. Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you. It's Kiwi. And let's grab another question. Let's see here. This one comes from Ayla. I was reading your Foam Smith books, and I was wondering what overlapping means. It's kind of a generic term, but a lot of times what I mean by that is if I have one layer of foam, like the base shape of my armor, and I want to add more detail to that, I'll cut out another layer of foam and glue that on top of it and just start adding layers outward to add more and more detail to the piece. That's generally, I think, what I mean by overlapping when I say that. I mean, that's the sort of thing that can be applied to any sort of additive sculpting type project. So, Thom, obviously, and most of the project you're working on are the sort of thing where you end up working in layers, where you add more and more detail layers.
That's generally the way we work, isn't it? Just building up the layers until we get the desired result.
That is correct. Trying to think of a good example from something you've built recently. But then I look at your page and all I see is a perfectly CNC milled Magneto helmet. And I was like, damn it.
That's far from perfect. That's one of the roughest ones I've done so far. Did that in a couple of hours. We used a 6mm cutter, so it was very, very rough. But all I wanted to do was get the basic shape, and I also made that from a very soft foam, which meant I could sand it down really, really quickly. And then I covered it with Epsilon, which is really, really good for coating foam.
Yes, in fact, that's what it was designed for.
Exactly what it was designed for.
So here's the rough. Is this straight out of the mill, or is this after some sanding?
Let me see. I think I've done some. Yeah, I've done some sanding to that. So I'll just sort of refine the shapes a little bit.
Cool.
So with a 6mm cutter, there was quite a rough grain to it. Usually,
so this is this is a subtractive process where the milling machine has removed material versus when you add layers on top of one another. So there you go, Ayla. It's a little insight into overlapping and layering. Let's see here. This one comes from Christopher. Christopher says, if you had to pick 3 major power tool purchases to start your first garage shop for prop and costume making, what would you pick? If you had no tools, you had to start a new shop, and you were a beginner, Thom, what 3 tools would you buy?
You would definitely need a good blade. I prefer to use a scalpel blade rather than your X-ACTO blades that you use over there. Possibly a box cutter if you're cutting foam. A ruler, a good steel ruler so you can cut straight lines. A Dremel if you've got a bit of cash. A hammer for when you get ticked off with stuff and you want to break things. How many did you ask for? 6?
He said 3. A ruler, a sharp knife, a Dremel. I think that's a pretty good stuff.
I think you can pretty much do everything with that.
There you go. A lot of times too, like once you have that rotary tool and a bunch of different bits for it, it'll do almost everything you need. It's not the best at it, but it'll get most of the work done. I'm glad you mentioned the knife, because another little trick I picked up from you is this this curved blade thing that I made myself. That came in really handy for some of the molds I just made. I was making all these cylindrical pieces for this rifle, and I did 1-part molds because it's so much faster. I just put a cardboard tube around the piece. I filled it with silicone, and then the masters were trapped in there because there's a little bit of an overhang. So I used this blade, this X-ACTO blade that I put a curve in to cut them out, and that way it left a trench, a registration trench, in the seam so that it would go back together really well. So that's a little cool little trick I learned. Ta-da!
Saves
Cool.
so much time, doesn't it?
It really does. And when you, it depends on what the finished product is going to be or how many times you're going to use a mold. But sometimes you're like, you know what? Let's just do the 1-part mold now because it's so much faster. And then we'll just cut it apart and then we'll get our pieces out. And versus claying up a whole piece and making a 2-part mold. So the time savings right here. It's good stuff. There we go. There's my friend Steve was on the show a week or two ago, and he introduced me to this place called Micro Mart. Micro Mart. It's a place for tools for small like hobby kits and stuff. They have so many cool tools. The curved blade that you have, they have a crimper, a pair of pliers that's used for making those. It's just got like a loop, and you just jam a blade in there and squeeze it, and it crimps it to be rounded. Yeah.
I'm gonna have to look at that.
Yeah, micromark.com. I'll put it. Yeah, I'll put a link in the chat. There you go, Christopher. Go. After you get a Dremel and a ruler and a knife, go to Micromark and just see what other tools they have that you want. Thank you for your question. This next one here comes from Sam. He says, not including the basics. This is a related question. What piece of equipment, power tool or otherwise, do you use the most? So which power tool do you use the most, Thom?
Power tool I use the most. I think it would possibly be a bandsaw or maybe a sander. It's hard to tell, really. Yeah, probably the bandsaw becoming most useful.
Yeah, I'm up there too. I've only recently got this bandsaw within the last year, and I already want to buy two. Like, I want a second one. Like, first of all, the one I bought is kind of crappy. Like, I want a better one. But also, I have different blades for it, and I'm constantly swapping them out. So I want to get a nicer one, put one blade on that, keep the crappy one, and put a foam cutting blade on that, and just use that for cutting foam.
No, that'd be really good. We've got one pretty big bandsaw, and we have a series of blades for cutting like aluminium, for cutting metal, for cutting wood. But generally, we just put a blade on, and it just gets destroyed with aluminium, and we just have a blunt blade the whole time, and nobody can be bothered setting it up to put a new blade on it. So it's quite can be quite irritating sometimes. But I only cut foam and maybe MDF occasionally.
Yeah.
So
You ever have a bandsaw blade break while you're using it?
yeah, that's a lot of fun. It's more fun when it happens to like an intern or somebody who hasn't been working there too long because they proper like freak out.
I broke one last week, and a little pee came out a little bit. This one is thank you, Sam, for your question. This one comes from Don't Try This at Home. He wants to know, hey guys, do either of you ship internationally, and if so, who offers the best economy shipping rates? Thank you very much. I do ship internationally. I'm sure you do too, Thom.
I do, yeah.
I send all of my stuff usually with the USPS, the good old United States Postal Service, mostly just because I can order shipping online, print out stickers at my house, leave them on my porch, and then someone will show up from the post office. Someone from the post office will show up, not a stranger, and they will take it. And I never have to leave the house. I can ship stuff internationally like that.
That's awesome. Yeah, I generally use couriers, international couriers for my international stuff. I did some stuff with the Royal Mail, smaller things, like when I did the Daft Punk necklaces, I could just stick them in an envelope and pop them in the mail. But I use a couple of websites which basically try and source the cheapest fare for you, which is quite good. So they'll give you a couple of options with different suppliers, and you can select which one you want. At the moment, I'm using a company called I Post Parcels. So that's letter I and then Post Parcels. And they're quite good. They're reasonably affordable.
Cool. Good to know. Very, very good to know. For me, I'll tell you what. anytime I have to leave my house to go to the post office or to go to FedEx or to go to UPS, if I have to spend an hour or two doing that, that's money flying out of my pockets.
Yeah.
And just the convenience of being able to put a prepaid package. And if you do it with USPS, if you do it online, you get, I think, like a 10% discount on your postage. Yeah. It's easier for them to do it that way too. Especially now we ship out a lot of books, and those are easy little packages. Like every couple of days we'll have a stack of books. We leave it on the front porch. Post office lady, when she's gonna come by anyway to drop mail off, she drops off the mail. She picks up my packages to go out. I don't have to leave the house. Hooray!
That's really good. The Royal Mail here, I can prepay for postage, but I have to drop it off. And if you want them to pick it up, you have to pay like £1,000 a year or something crazy like that. So generally we've got a couple of companies, so we go down a couple of times a week and just drop off mail that way. But it'd be great if somebody came to pick it up. But yeah, no, they want to charge for that.
Pretty spoiled over here. All right. Let's see here. Let's grab... This is a good one. This one's from Nate. He says, what are some beginning tips for mold making? And something to avoid. Avoid clay that has sulfur in it.
Yep.
Yeah. I was buying the clay for my matrix mold, just normal water-based clay, and the lady's like, "Oh, and it was a pottery store. This is not a materials store." And I was like, "Oh, just whatever clay it is, just non-sulfuric." And she was like, "Oh, I don't know." I was like, "Non-sulfuric clay, just clay that. Do you know what your clay has in it?" I don't know. I was like, "Just just get me water-based clay. It'll be fine." But some oil-based clays will have sulfur in them, and that would cause silicone curing inhibition.
Yep. You know how you can avoid that, though?
You spray paint over the clay?
Coat it with a clear lacquer. Yep, I will do that regardless. Yeah. Everything gets coated. Even if I know that some products won't react with each other, I will still coat everything with a clear coat just to be safe. Go. Yeah, I
did that with the matrix mold. Before I laid down the fiberglass, I sprayed it with a clear acrylic spray. Yep. Seems to be working all right. Some beginning
tips. Small.
Yeah.
Really small. Make tiny little things, so if you make a mess of it, you're not going to waste hundreds of dollars worth of silicone.
Yeah, that is the best advice that I can give. A lot of people will ask me questions about mold making, and this, they want a cheaper alternative to silicone. I'll tell them, instead of trying to figure out like making it out of Jello or something, just make something small. Buy a trial size kit of silicone and make a small mold. There you go. Good luck, Nate. Good luck with your beginning silicone projects. Let's see here.
Mold making with some latex as well. Building up layers of latex. If it is a small piece, like a figurine or something, you can dip it multiple times, and the latex will work the exact same.
There you go.
So, a cheap way of making something small.
All right. Yes. Very cool. Let's see. We got another question here. We've got just under 10 minutes. We'll grab a couple more questions. This one's from Tristan. It says, considering how much overhead you have, how much do you actually make in profit and live off of prop making? I'm glad that he mentioned overhead. Now, I've recently actually done the math on how much overhead my shop costs me per month just to keep the lights on, how much per month it costs to run my shop. So I know what that overhead is. And I know I have to make more than that so that I can eat. So he wants to know how you actually make a profit. That is the trick, isn't it?
That is the hard part, yeah.
What I would say is, you do have to be really, really good and fast. Because two people can spend the same amount of time making a product and come up with two vastly different qualities of finished product. And the person who makes a really good product, A, will be able to sell it, and B, can charge a price that is both worth it for the prop and profitable for the prop maker. If your stuff isn't good enough, then A, no one wants to buy it, and B, you can't charge enough to make a profit off of it. So that's the real trick, getting really good. And then the second trick is A, knowing how much you need to charge to make a profit, and getting the word out to the people who are both want the products you're making and are willing to pay the price that they need to pay in order for you to turn a profit. So as soon as anyone figures that out, be glad to hear about how to make it happen. Or sell ebooks. That's what I did. I just started selling books, and that seems to work pretty well. So there you go, Tristan. Good luck. You have, depending on how good you are, years ahead of you to get ready to start turning a profit. Bloop, bloop, bloop. I will say, for the first year or two, probably a good 2 years, I barely broke even building props for a living. I was doing it full time, and I did, if I remember my taxes correctly, I broke even my first year, which I was pretty excited about. I didn't actually lose money. But yeah, it's really easy to get into this and not charge enough for what you make.
Yep.
How do you how's that going for you, Thom?
Making money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, for as long as you've been doing this, have you gone through that kind of roller coaster and learned what you need to charge for stuff, and have you learned how to get clients that are willing to pay what it's worth?
Still not fully figured it out. I will admit it's a lot more difficult over here in the UK. I think over with you guys in the States, there's a lot more people into it, a lot more people willing to spend the big bucks. Over here, it's not so not as popular. People are still trying to do it as a sort of DIY hobbyist sort of level. But most of my clients are based in the States, Australia or Europe or stuff like that. But it's been a bit of a roller coaster, but I'm kind of getting there. You know, every year I've kind of considerably improved upon the last year, which has been good. But it's still not steady, but it's looking good. You know, I'm still in business. That's the most important thing. It
is definitely a long term. You always have to keep thinking long term. Like the decisions you make now, how do they affect where your company is going to be in the next 2 to 5 years?
One thing I always stuck to, you'll notice it yourself, there's a lot of people are now getting into doing this, and they're trying to get commissions, and you put a post up on the internet, someone says, I want something made, there's like hundreds of people going, I'll make it for $50, and you're kind of like, you can't make that for $50, and if you do, it won't be very good. But I've always stuck very true to my value, what I think I'm worth. I know there's a lot of things I could sell for a lot cheaper, maybe sell a lot more units, but I sell them for what I think they're worth, the effort that I've put in, and the hours that I've, the money I've spent and invested into sort of time and product and training myself. So I think sticking true to your guns can be difficult, especially when people don't buy as many as you'd like. But definitely know your own value, know your own worth. That's
good. That's a long-term game that you're playing, and I think a lot of people, when they start getting into this sort of stuff, think too short-term. Yeah. So there you go. Good luck. Good luck, everyone out there. If anyone trying to make a living doing their creative thing, you have an uphill battle.
Just copy you and sell ebooks, which I'm going to be doing very, very soon.
Good. That's good. Yep. And the other thing too is like you don't necessarily have to do like ebooks or whatever, but having more than one source of income based around your business is key. What they call diversifying. So, if you have a website that a lot of people go to, you can put advertising on that. You can get ad revenue from doing videos, kind of like what I do. And a lot of times it's a lot of little things that eventually will add up. Yeah. Cool. All right. Hey, here's a good one. This one's from Terry. This is my buddy Terry over at Vector Sigma Creations. Terry.
Oh, hi, Terry.
Hey, he wants to know, do either of you have any tips on getting the most shelf life out of your mold making supplies?
Mold making supplies.
Yeah.
I've never really had an issue with shelf life because I generally use it quite quickly.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Make a lot of big molds.
That's big molds. Yeah. I don't know. I think it's all got a shelf life, and that's pretty much it. Keep making sure it's airtight, of course. Don't leave the lid off too long. and keeping it at a good temperature. I think when I'm using my silicone, I like to use it at room temperature, but when it's in storage, I keep it out in the cold part of my shop. I don't know if that makes any difference, but that's the way I work. That's the way I store my stuff. But yeah, I've never had any problems with materials going off. So
Yeah,
maybe.
I will say with casting supplies, with urethane plastics especially, moisture will ruin that. And while you're, and I've done this before, where I'll sit down and all day long I'll be pouring urethane plastic, and I'll take the two big jugs, I'll unscrew the caps on both of them and leave them sitting there with the caps off while I'm pouring all day long. Now, if those things are sitting open for 8 hours, moisture gets in through the air and will start to ruin it. You'll start seeing more bubbles in your castings. So now what I do is I uncap it, pour my halves, cap it again, and make sure I don't let air and moisture get into the big bottles. Yeah. If I'm working with a lot of small pours, I'll take a couple of pint-sized cups. I'll pour side A in one, side B in the other, and then cap the big jugs again, put them away, and pour my stuff from those small cups. So that, and then at the end of the day, if there's any left, I usually throw it away, or I'll dump it in another mold that I've got. That way your supply, the big supply, doesn't get exposed to the air for long periods of time. And then also, they sell a spray you can spray into the top that displaces all the air and moisture. So you can spray that into your jug and then cap it. So that's an option as well. If you live in a very humid area, that may be necessary.
You don't want the knocking over your big jugs and pouring them all over the floor.
Yeah, keep the cap on.
Keep the cap on.
It's a good life lesson there. Some life advice.
You keep make that mistake once, don't you?
Keep it capped, gentlemen. All right, cool. That's a great way to end it. Thank you for your question, Terry. And thank you, everyone else, for your questions. You guys are awesome. Thank you, everyone in the chat who have been chatting along here about a whole bunch of stuff that I've totally missed. But they seem to be getting along quite well. Thank you, Thom, for staying up super late to come hang out with us.
Thank you for having me, Bill.
See, you've got a kitty cat there. What's the cat's name?
Decided she wanted to get some FaceTime as well, eh?
Oh.
You don't want to? Do you want to go? You go.
Cool. Well, I'll tell you what. It was a pleasure having you. I'm looking forward to making it over to your neck of the woods sometime in the next year or so.
Hopefully that'll happen soon. Hopefully I'll get over to you guys sometime.
Yeah. And we'll probably have you on the show again sometime as well.
That would be great. Yeah, I'd love to come back on. Maybe a little bit earlier, though.
Yeah, a little earlier in the day. We'll figure it out. All right, everyone. We will see you all next week. Thank you again. Bye.
Bye, guys.